All right, everyone. Welcome to today's session on AI literacy for teachers. This is level 2 of 3, and if you all have any questions about level 1, we can also answer them in this call, but the content that I've prepared is mostly what's in level 2. And then I'll touch on what's in level 3 a little bit as well. So yeah, with that, um, here's a bit of an overview of what we'll cover today. I've prepared some news, ice-breaking news, as I like to call it. Basically, some news that I've seen recently that I think might be worth discussing and kind of just starting off the session with that sort of thinking mindset. Then I'll go through the certification contents and suggestions from our team on how to implement this training if you're wanting to bring it to your school as a whole. And then finally, we'll have time for share out and feedback. So if you've taken level 1 or already taken level 2, think about maybe what you would like to share with our team or other people here who have yet to take it. And we'll have time for people to share their thoughts at the end there. Yeah. Oh, also, if you have any ideas for how you want to implement it in your school specifically, that would also be a great time to share that. But yes, some housekeeping things. The recording will be available later. Everyone here will get an email with it, and everyone who, is using Flint will get it in an email on Monday in our weekly newsletter. And questions are welcome at any time. Feel free to interrupt me or raise your hand in the meeting call, and I'll try and take questions as they come. But yes, with that, I'll start off with the icebreaking news. So I was reading this article that was summarizing a presentation from ISTE Live, which is like this really big conference on technology. And these school leaders were looking at how to demystify AI, and especially like across the grade levels. This is not exactly related to teacher AI literacy, I would say, but I thought it was interesting how they broke it down for the different levels and how they're introducing AI for different audiences. And from another source, actually, I also found this definition of AI literacy that I think looking at these two hand in hand, I think are like a good way to evaluate how to start getting a whole school trained on AI. So for the definition here, it says that AI literacy is a set of competencies that enables individuals to, one, critically evaluate AI technologies, two, communicate and collaborate effectively with AI, and then three, use AI as a tool online, at home, and in the workplace. And I thought it was kind of funny because this is kind of like how we structured our AI literacy course as well, with level 1 being mostly about what is AI? How do you interact with it? The second one being more on how did it come to be this way? What sorts of things are necessary to know so that you can identify what biases it might have or what sorts of pitfalls it might have. And then finally, the last level is on Flint. So a very practical tool that you can use when you want to integrate AI into your classroom. But yeah, I also just thought this article was interesting and cool to share, and it might help some of you all brainstorm how you might also, once you feel at least a little bit more AI literate, how you might be able to help students also gain AI literacy as they go through schooling. Yeah. I will say though, this definition on AI literacy is like a working definition. People are still trying to understand what exactly AI literacy means and what that looks like. So yeah, if you all have any thoughts on whether there should be something added to this, feel free to share right now. But if not, I'll move on to the next section. Oh, was there a hand raised just now? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, all good. Yeah, I think it's just important to kind of think about what exactly your goals are with becoming AI literate. And I think that will help you really to see how, if you're like a leader at your school, how you can help other teachers gain that sort of literacy. And then, of course, if you're an individual teacher, what sorts of things you can focus on and also practice as you try and like become AI literate in that sense. Yes, Sheila, I can grab the article link. Um, yeah, everyone will get the link to these slides later on, though, if needed. Oh, thanks, Charles, for sending it in the chat. Great. Awesome. Okay, so now I'll quickly go over the certification contents for this level of the course. If you want to see an overview of all of the courses or all levels of the course, you can go here to our website. But the course itself is posted within our community platform. So I'll also post that link in the chat in case anyone needs it. But yeah, as you can see from this screenshot here, level 2 is what we've called advanced AI literacy for teachers. Level 1 we felt were the more fundamental things to know. And then in contrast, this level 2 has more of like the background on AI, data regulation, and this sort of mess of policies and ethics around AI, and just getting you more up to speed with like what is currently the state of AI and what people are talking about in that space. So if you haven't yet, I would highly recommend doing level 1 first, and then level 2 is like a good add-on for deepening your understanding. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Craig said that he's starting their grade 2 students off with simple AI research conversations with the aim of helping them develop communication skills that help them access the tool in a meaningful way. Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, awesome. So let me show you all what it looks like when you go into the quiz. It's pretty straightforward. There's like different lessons that you can go through. Each lesson starts off with a video from our wonderful head of marketing, Sun. And then there's content that you can read through that definitely like fully covers the content. The video is just like an overview of the most important aspects in each lesson. And as you go through each lesson, you can click complete. And then at the very end here, we have a quiz that you could take. And once you've taken that quiz, our team will get a notification and will send you a certificate if you got an 85 or above. Yeah, and as you're going through the lessons, if you have any feedback for our team, of course you can email me, and you can also go to the comments within the course itself and add any comments here. And our team will also see those comments and receive your feedback in that way. Yeah. Okay. Any questions about the course itself and the content here? Let me go back to the little right there. Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
It's not about the content. My question's not about the content of the course, but if you aren't super concerned about getting the certificate, this is just, I guess, feedback. If the quiz could be where you get your results right after you take it, or if it's some sort like you can get more immediate feedback. I know that a couple of people that have taken the course were like, I sent it off, but now I'm really nervous because I don't know if I passed or not. Whereas a lot of like online PD, you find out quickly if how you did on it. We do a lot of online PD at our school for sexual harassment training and things of that nature. And so I think that's what our teachers have become accustomed to. So when they took this and they sent off, their quiz and they didn't get the results in the day, they were just like, well, I'm still waiting. And it was a little bit anxiety provoking, I think, for them. But that I understand it's because you have the certification that goes along with it. But if there was an option that like I'm taking this course for general knowledge and not necessarily for the certificate, if they can get immediate feedback, that'd be awesome.
I see. Do you know if those teachers took it took like level one like very early on when it was released because I know the first version of level one that we put out, the quiz was inherently in like this community platform, and they didn't give us the option to like show you which questions you missed or automatically grade the responses. So we replaced the quizzes with Google Forms quizzes instead. And so it should be giving people feedback immediately, but I will investigate if it's not still.
Okay. I think they took it earlier this week. I think it was
Okay.
Tuesday.
Okay.
Lulu, what I found was when I took it, because the quiz goes all the way down the page, when you submit, you actually have to scroll all the way back up in order to see your score. And then you can click and you can actually see which ones you got right or wrong, but that's not immediately obvious. So if you just click and then don't realize you have to scroll up, I can see why some people might have not realized that their score was immediately available.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, thank you for that. I'll let the user know that that's what they had. They might have missed.
Interesting. Okay. I'll also see
I don't know
what
if
the
there's a way to put a note at the bottom saying now scroll up to see your results.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Maybe what we could do is like break it up into multiple pages so that it doesn't go so far down. But yeah, that's interesting that Google Forms doesn't just automatically scroll up for you. But yeah, thank you for that feedback, Lisa. I was not aware of that, so that's very helpful. Um, yeah, so Don said I have to say the level one PowerPoint with videos with Sohan and an opportunity to interact with Flint was eye-opening. Yeah, do you want to share more about that? I think I'm not sure if we have a PowerPoint for this course, but that might have been for the student AI literacy course. Um, but yeah, I would also highly recommend any teachers like go through that course. It's a good resource for talking to your students about AI. The content's a bit more leveled down and there's like more graphics for that one. But for this course, we wanted to go a bit like more content heavy. So that's why it's more text based.
Yeah, I would just say that. So I did the PowerPoint with Sohan within another course, like over a week, with teachers doing, getting introduced to AI. And after there were 5 units, and after every unit, you could then go and do this quiz, and it was a quiz with Flint. And
Mm.
I had no experience with Flint, who's the AI bot for Flint K-12. And we just started going back and forth, back and forth. And I'm sure I could have done the PowerPoint quiz really fast, but I just got so engaged with Flint and like his capability, their capabilities, and that we just kept spinning off of things, and we got into ethical conversations, and we talked about like beginning of year simulations or scenarios that I could use to introduce my students to ethical use and how I would go about using scaffolding and things like that. So I found it really amazing. And I ended up spending, honestly, it felt like about 48 hours where it was just with Flint. And I was just learning and learning. And then I would go, hey, what about this? And then Flint would come back with scenarios or resources. And then I would say, I need you to tell me the exact sources. They would do that. I'm a history teacher. I was like, I want primary documents. Flint would find me primary documents. Like Flint is the super librarian, grad student researcher, probably the equivalent of about 1,000 people in one room with supercomputers, but Flint does it like that. So
Oh, that's awesome to hear. Yeah. I mean, I actually that kind of like inspires me to incorporate more Flint activities into the teacher course too. Yeah, we did it for the student ones because trying to like maximize engagement there. But I do think like the teacher course has that room to grow. So we'll also look into that. But yeah, I'm glad that you had a really good time playing around with it because I do think that a lot of AI literacy, like it is best learning by doing, especially as AI changes. Like I feel like the most important mentality, honestly, is to really understand that you can play around with it, that it's like not concrete. And I feel like a lot of beginners who are just using AI, the place where they trip up first is like, oh, the first response wasn't good, so I must not be doing it right. But really, it's just you have to really work with it. Yeah. Sheila asked about how much time to allocate to the course. I will actually cover this in a second in the next section. So let me really quickly look through the other questions. Oh yeah, and then Dawn, you said that you would suggest people do the quizzes with Flint to see the ability of Flint and leverage it. Awesome. Oh, and you said that, oh, because you were playing around with Flint so much, you got engaged for like 4 hours. That's amazing though. Um, yes. Okay. Ah, I see. Craig, you're saying that the quiz is difficult to do, because you don't, because it's on Google. I'll look into if we can maybe make the quiz in 2 different spots, but that is good to point out. Yeah.
Yeah, the quiz is not available in China, but so far my testing of Flint in China, I haven't needed a VPN. I've tried a number of times. I'm not in South Africa for the summer, but I'll test it again when I go back. Sometimes they will let it run for a little bit and then they block it off. Fortunately, at our school we have VPN, so most of the time it's good. It's just that when we, if teachers are doing it at home, then some of them don't have access. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. I think we've, as a team, kind of like tried to work around like the firewall, the Great Firewall, a decent bit. I remember because we do work with like a decent number of schools in China. And there was one point where I think China was blocking all AIs that were not made in China. But I honestly don't know how they solved that, but I think we're good now. So hopefully, like, no more troubles come up, but let us know if you see anything.
However they did it, they're doing well so far. So I'm very pleased. Because I
Awesome.
know, yeah, I was using Claude for a bit and then it got blocked. There are a number of them that I've tried it, but I think Flint accesses a couple of different ones, so the channels are quite good. I know some of the other guys that jump between multiple platforms seem to be able to, activate the one that is available. So you guys are doing great.
Thank you. Um, but yes, yeah. I think Craig, you might have been looking at this one, which is the AI literacy course for students. Um, which I think is like pretty similar to the teacher one. It's just, leveled down for more of the like middle to high school range of students. Yeah, and this is where we have like the slide deck, and the slide deck has like videos in it, and it has these 5 units. But yeah, if anyone else is interested in this one, I can also put this in the chat here. Yeah, I think even if you're not a student, it's also very good information to go through. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments, questions, suggestions? And then I have like some numbers on implementation to share with you all. All right. Yeah, if you all think of anything later, just let me know. But yeah, on the implementation side, so often after we put out these levels, people are asking like how to actually run a PD with them. So in terms of timing, I would say that most lessons take like 10 to 15 minutes if you're like reading through very in depth. The videos are each like 3 to 5 minutes in this level, and then the reading takes like 3 to 8 minutes. And then depending on how like specifically you want to look at the charts and graphics, that can also like take another 5 to 10 minutes for each lesson. So in total, it'll probably take you like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if you're looking at everything a bit more closely to go through the quiz. Let me know if anyone else like kind of experienced that differently though. But I do think also like how quickly you can go through it might also vary based on your existing knowledge of AI. Yeah, I would definitely encourage looking at our level lessons as like a starting point. If there's anything that you want to dig in deeper to, like how exactly neural networks work, like our team covered it like out of very base level, but there might be some things that you want to do some more research on. Yeah, and then the on the potential implementation side, I do think there's like a bunch of different ways you can go about this. We tried to provide a lot of information, but of course you don't have to cover everything with all of your teachers. So some ideas that I've listed here are like, 1 hour a day, if you have like a full week of PD where you're like covering a bunch of different things, that could be a like nice piecemeal way to go through all of the information. But you could also treat this level as like a pre-reading and then discuss during PD. I think what Dawn was saying earlier about like how you like went through the content first, but then really the fruitful part was like having all those sorts of ethical discussions. We do think that like level 1 or level 2 of this course can be a good like knowledge baseline setting for everyone so that you can be informed as you have like conversations with your teachers. Yeah, and then if you were to do a full day PD, I would break it up into maybe a couple different sessions or like have breaks in between. I think you could cover 2.1 and 2.2 together. It's like how AI works and like how it got to where it is now. I think 2.3 on bias and perception might be more like immediately applicable to teachers as they're thinking about how to implement AI into their own classroom. So that one maybe you cover on its own. And then the regulations and policies and then data privacy stuff, that could probably also all be in one session together because those are also kind of related. Yeah, and then with that being said, if you don't have that much time with your teachers, I would suggest looking specifically at 2.3 and 2.4. I think those are the most like immediately relevant to their classrooms where they should know like how AI might be biased and how it might change students' perceptions of things, and then also what sorts of data privacy regulations they should be aware of and how to ensure students' data privacy while they're interacting with different AI tools. And yeah, the last option there is like you don't have to have everyone go through this course. If your school wants to mandate it, great. If not, that's okay. What I've seen from like AI trainings in general, teachers really like it when they're hearing from other teachers, So you could have the most interested teachers at your school go through this training and like get all of that like in-depth knowledge, and then you could have them or like work with them to make a training that makes sense for your community. But yeah, feel free to like take any of the resources that we've made and like put it into your own PowerPoints or slide decks if you are wanting to go this route. Yeah, glad, Craig, that you're saying that this is helpful because it means that you don't have to write the materials yourself. Happy that we can help you out there. But yeah, any questions on this part of how you might like integrate this into your teacher learning? So awesome. Okie dokie. So really quickly to cover what is going on in level 3. Yeah, so level 1 was like basics of AI. Level 2 is more advanced stuff on like the details of how AI works and what that means for education. And then level 3 is specifically on Flint, actually. So we want this to be like a easy training that teachers can do to really get up to speed. And also one that they can do on their own time, because I understand like when you schedule like a group PD for everyone, not everyone's like digesting the information at the same rate. So this might be good to share out with all of your teachers and like have them do on their own. But yeah, we'll cover like, what Flint is, why it is what it is, Flint chats for them, Flint activities, tips for getting started, and then probably we'll have also a Flint capstone project where they can actually play around with it and like get their hands a bit dirty because I think that is like the best way to learn Flint. And then we'll have like a quiz at the end with the certification as well. But yeah, the quiz or the levels of the course don't have to be taken like one after the other. We haven't set it up that way, though I do recommend it that way. But if your teachers don't have time to go through all 3 levels, maybe just level 1 or maybe just level 3 makes sense for you all. Yeah, Donna's asking, when will you get access to level 3? So it's a bit delayed right now because we have a product update coming out really soon, and we didn't want to like make it and then have to remake it because the product changes. So the goal is end of July, so end of this month, we'll have level 3 out. But yes, that does depend on the product update. And then will there be a student version and a teacher version? That's a good idea. We should do a student version of it. Yeah, actually, I'll like kind of cover this later, but one of the next sessions that I want to do is like how to train students on Flint. So if you all have done any of that so far, let me know, and I will happily include that in my presentation then also. Yes, and Craig was saying, can we do level 2 without doing level 1? Yes, you can. It might not be like the most like logical thing on our end that we did to like have them like kind of progress like that. But yes, you can do level 2 without doing level 1. And we're not gonna like penalize you for like not having done level 1. So yeah, we wanted to make it this kind of resource where teachers can come in at different levels and just get what they need out of it. Yes, Izzy, I will probably reach out to you about the teaching students one. So excited to chat more about that. Yeah, nice. Glad, Craig, that you will probably do all the levels to have all the badges. Yeah, so that others will trust your knowledge and your help with it. And then Lisa's asking, after level 3 comes out, will it continuously be updated in the future as Flint makes updates to the platform? Yeah, that will be the goal. We probably won't have level 3 cover like all of the nitty-gritty details of Flint. But I would say like be able to get the teacher from like not knowing anything about it to like at least an intermediate user is the goal. I think the like intermediate to advanced user in Flint kind of just mostly is like taking time to play around with it and understand how to work with the AI. But yeah, let me know if that sounds good. But yes, we will continue to update it so that it's relevant to the current platform. Yeah. And then Craig is also saying that he focuses on training the students more than the teachers. Oh, okay. I'd love to hear more about that if you're able to speak about it.
Sorry, I was trying to find the mic here. I've like I found a lot of the teachers at my school. We just don't have time for PD, and a lot of them will either have done little bits, and so they really want to share. So it's difficult to create a structured thing. That probably think tanks is easier. But my concern is that if we are not equipping students to meaningfully use AI in a real way and be prepared, they are completely unprepared for the future. And what they tend to do is they tend to just use it as a copy paste. And I saw that there was some recent research, I don't know if it was Stanford or MIT, saying that students who are using AI tend to be very sloppy and become lazy. So my focus is trying to develop conversations, teach them to ask questions meaningfully, use it as a tool at the most important place. And I feel now, because my grade threes, I know some of them are on ChatGPT on their own. If I don't start helping them, they're going to develop too many bad habits. So I started last year. As soon as I had sort of started with Magic School, which was okay, but we can use Flint on some free versions, which work and I find a lot better. And so I tested it out with my grade 2s, my grade 4s, my grade 5s and 6s, and I found it really, really amazing. And just giving them those little opportunities, creating, because Flint allows you to test out your chat session for students before you run it, which is phenomenal. It's so hard to first create it, you go run through it, and then you have to recreate it. So that's a really great tool, even to going in and editing it. And then just, I've been testing out, letting the kids do it, have a look at what that is. But really the feedback I think is phenomenal, because I use then AI and I will create comments from, and I can use Flint, whatever, comments from the strengths and weaknesses, It also helps me. So next year I have to start with, I haven't taught computer science and design and technology, and now I'm teaching grade 9 and 10 next year for those two subjects. But what I'll do is I'll do chapter by chapter. And the great thing is I can have a tutor chapter or a test chapter, and it will give me feedback on what the students know. So it gives me so much more insight into my students on a personal level in the teaching than I would if I was just myself going through their work. And that immediate feedback for the students is just next level. So I'm really enjoying what I've done, and I'm finding that the kids are so much more open to hearing and learning and trying, where some of the teachers are so fixed in the administrative requirements that they have to do that they become resistant to trying new things. So yeah, that's why I'm just focusing on the students. If I get something working well, the teachers then see it, and that's how they buy into it, which makes it easier to sell in the long run.
For sure, for sure. I've actually been talking to students recently, and some of them have been telling me how they've been teaching their teachers how to use Flint and like making activities for them. So that's like really cool to see. Yeah, Charles, go ahead.
I bug Craig with a question. You mentioned working with younger students. I'm wondering, could you say something about how you've dealt with the need for parental consent? Do you have like an overall, hey, we're going to use various tools that require consent, or you're giving it to us once for the whole year, or did you do something specific for Flint? Just curious how you've dealt with younger users.
Yeah, so our younger users, in at grade 1, we might have just modeled it and used it individually. So I would use it, and we have a conversation with them and we run it on. So they're not directly using it. Grade 2s, we are using it. In fact, last year I had grade 1 parents asking me when I'm the train AI. So they already have been pushing for it. I think China is very tech savvy, and they really push the new tech, and they want the kids to be prepared. But we have an overarching tech use agreement, which they signed, which specifies that we regulate and oversee the platforms that they're on, and through that is where the guidance comes. So I don't allow my kids to go onto any platform. I don't use platforms where I don't have some form of oversight. And so I'm very clear. And so the parents give a consent at the beginning of each year. Every year we require them to sign the tech use agreement, and that covers all of our different platforms.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, Craig. That was very inspiring. Um, cool. Okay. Really quickly, I will also cover before we get to the share out, I have like 2 slides left. So overall, some things that I've heard from teacher leaders of like what is important for the sort of like AI literacy training and AI PD is like having goals in mind for how you want to actually have that conversation with teachers. So these were the 3 that I put in from the like first level of the course. So I'll just review those really quickly, and then I have like 3 additional ones for this level of the course. But for really level 1, as you're getting started with talking to your teachers about AI and like AI literacy, like Craig was saying, like a lot of people are hesitant and kind of very like used to how they've been doing things. But I think also another side of things are like teachers are kind of concerned also about like academic integrity, about AI's limitations, about like the ethics of using AI and like how they can make sure that they're aligned with different policies. So I think there is where like level 1 and some of level 2 come in handy, where you can really address those concerns of the teachers, and really just like I think it's a combination of informing them and also making them feel like they're being heard. And so you can like once you move past those conversations, I feel like that's where people are actually starting to be willing to explore and like play around with it, because they understand that they're like on the same page with everyone else at their school, and especially with their administration. But yeah, secondly, we kind of talked about this, but like empowering them to have the knowledge to have those sorts of informed conversations. Like Don was describing earlier, how you all went through the kind of coverage on the AI literacy first, but then like, and like after that, you were able to have various ethical conversations and like actually start playing around with Flint. Yeah, setting that baseline is important. And then I would say like if it is like Flint that you're interested in using, we try and build our platform to go beyond substitution. And what that means is like we try and build our platform to do more than just like automate what you're doing currently. So I think for you all who are like inspiring teachers to use AI more, I think the focus can also be, you know, like, oh, you can use AI to do what you're doing now, but like think about how with this tool you can teach in a different way or like truly differentiate learning for students or yeah, enable activities that were previously not enableable before. So I think those are like three pretty good goals to set the baseline there. Um, and then on top of that, I would say that like having people understand how AI works can really illuminate like where it might have pitfalls. Um, and this is like mostly talking about like the first two lessons in level 2, where it's like how AI works and like the technical kind of details on how it's made, or and also the history of how we got here. Because you know, oftentimes people are confused as to like why AI kind of struggles with math, and then I tell them, well, it's only been trained on language. So yeah, things like that. I feel like people understand better if they understand what exactly AI is coming from. Um, yeah, and then I think the other two things relevant to this level of the course are to really inform on the bias that can happen with AI and like the role in perception. I think there's like this kind of scary initial perception of AI that, oh, it's like, you know, a machine, so it must be very objective, you know? But it is a machine that's been trained on so much data and like content from us as humans, and humans have bias most of the time, and that has been really baked into AI. So it's important to like show teachers how that looks and like how to identify that. And then of course, the third one here, informing them on the privacy requirements. Um, yeah, it's hard to say what exactly big AI companies are doing with your data, unfortunately. We at Flint, we make sure that none of your data is being shared back to the AI model providers that we use, and we don't train anything on our own. But if you are using other AI tools out there, it's a little bit of a wild west right now. I know that like the saying in tech goes, if you're not paying for the product, then you are the product. Your data is the product. That's kind of what they're trying to get out of you. But like even right now, I saw a couple days ago that like the American Supreme Court or something like that, they gave OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT, the sort of executive order saying that they can't delete user data. They have to remove that right for people in most contexts, even if they're paid users, because the regulatory policies are like concerned about losing those sorts of conversations that people might be having that might be concerns for public safety or something. That's what they say. I don't know, but basically the summary here is that things are changing a lot from like a privacy standpoint. So it's also important to make sure that you have those sorts of conversations moving forward and ensure that the products that you're using are safe for your students. Okay, I think that is the end of my soapbox. So yeah, we have this time for you all to kind of share what you've been doing or give us feedback on the course also. So yeah, please let me know if you all have any ideas there. Yeah. Oh yeah, and Craig is saying that on the bias piece from earlier, different platforms have been trained to be biased in different ways. Yeah, we kind of cover in the lessons in the course that there's like 3 different ways that bias can manifest in a sense. Yeah, it might be from the data, but it might also just be like the method of training that was used. And it can also just be how it's implemented also, which I think is important for the teachers to be aware of too. Like, are they using AI in a way that is biased or like creating bias? Yeah. But yeah, would love to hear from anyone about how they want to train teachers on this. Yeah, go ahead, Colin, if that was what you were going to cover.
Yep. Well, right now we've only got an idea of how we're going to do level 1 for the teachers. We've got a week when the teachers are back before the students, and we've been given an hour. So we are going to try to fit level 1 into an hour. I found it took me about 52 minutes, including the quiz, to do it. So we're hoping most teachers can squeeze it into an hour. But I've also taken the 5 units of the student course, and I'll echo what somebody else said. I really appreciated a chance to work in Flint at the end of each of those 5 student units. And so when I have to break the student lessons up over the course of about 8 weeks, just because of the time constraints that I have with students. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to email the teachers each time we start a new student unit and encourage the teachers to do that at the same time, because I find it echoes a lot of what they will have learned in the adult introductions, and to have the teachers go in and actually use the Flint interactivity, I think will be a real good eye opener for them as well. So, I find the student ones I'm allotting between 15 and 25 minutes for the students, but I think the adults can do them all in about 15 minutes easily. So I'm thinking every 8 days, academic days, that's not too much to ask the teachers to do. So that's the plan. How many of them will actually do it, I don't know, but hopefully we'll build excitement, because I think we've had a few teachers use Flint just in the spring, and the excitement, especially from the language teachers, really started to spread to other teachers. And I think that will only build once they get in and more teachers are using it.
Yeah, I love that idea actually, because I mean, earlier I was kind of talking about like encouraging conversation, and like my default thought about that is like between teachers, but I feel like the conversation also needs to be happening between teachers and their students. So yeah, if they're working in the same activities, that definitely I think aligns them in a way that they can talk about like very specific things together, and they know what each other has gone through and understood. Yeah, go ahead, Charles.
Question for Colin. You mentioned the excitement. Was it language teachers? Did you mean like second
Yeah,
language?
particularly we have a Spanish teacher who is in love with Flint, because what he found is that he could speak to Flint in Spanish to set up the activity. And then he had Flint he set up activities where Flint could read the students writing in Spanish and give them feedback. But even better, he had the students speaking Spanish to Flint, and Flint would critique their pronunciation, enunciation, their vocabulary, and give them feedback on all of that. And that gave me an idea. I teach a video journalism elective, and one of the things they have to do is they have to write a review. So I'm going to create an activity for Flint to be able to help them outline the script of their review. But then something really exciting, which I don't have time to do with all the students, is they'll be able to speak their review to Flint, and Flint will be able to give them feedback on their pacing, their tone of voice, their enunciation, pronunciation, so that by the time they go to record it, they'll already gotten some really good feedback. And so I got that just from the excitement of the Spanish teacher when he was telling me about all the oral activities that he was doing.
And special shout out to Colin also, because he's been giving us very quick and very detailed feedback for the levels. So thank you so much. Definitely improved both of them a lot. So yes, thank you, thank you. Go ahead, Craig.
I'm quite excited because it's good to go through this now, because we will have some teacher training time before the students come back in August. And for me, that's really the only time that I can get teachers engaged at all. I had a couple of, because I was mainly in primary last year, I had a couple of sessions where I just went in to listen to the senior. And it seems that the senior are very much caught up with the idea that students use it to cheat on writing papers. So they're using it, the idea of what students do with it is very narrow. They're just going to take my question and then get an answer, and it's never right. So I will definitely go back and allow them to have a look at the course. I think it's great because I don't have to write anything. I can get them online and they can go through it. But the whole idea of different ways, so similar to what Colin's saying, is different ways of using it. So not approaching it from, okay, these are the questions that we have, and now the kid is just going to get the answer from there, but rather how can the kid use the AI to help himself develop and train towards being able to answer those questions better. So yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, for sure. And sorry, Izzy, to out you, but Izzy on the call here is a student actually, and I had the pleasure of talking with her last week, I believe, about like the mentality of students around it too. And like you kind of touched on like how teachers are concerned about the cheating aspect, but she was saying even how like she'll say to her friends like, "Oh yeah, I used AI to help me with this assignment," but they also think like, "Oh, so that means you cheated, right?" But really like there's the stigma both from the teacher side and the student side, honestly. So I think it's like important to address that as a whole for everyone in your community. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was here last year in South Africa, my son's in grade 11, and I was saying to him he can use it to help him study. So I showed him a little bit. He didn't really believe it, and then we had a look in, and I said, okay, let's look at what you need to study. So we put it through the AI, and he said, oh, it's missing this, this, and this, and I said, so that was exciting because they said now you are using AI properly because you are looking at it, thinking critically, identify where the errors are, and then you are having the conversation. And it was quite interesting because I had an opportunity over 2 weeks to work with him and talk with him about how it operates and then how best to use it. And those sorts of conversations is what we really need to have with the kids. At the beginning of last year, I had one grade 4 student who said, okay, so AI can just do my homework then. And my comment to him was, if AI is doing your homework for you, then you are useless. And what is your point? And what I was trying to get him to understand is that he needs to be able to do something. Otherwise, AI is more important and he, loses value. So I keep trying to say to them, where's your value within this? You're a team member with it. You've got to have the conversation. This is to help you to refine your ideas and develop them a bit further. I ran a CCA with my grade 4s, 5s, and 6s, where I had them write songs so that they gather data and then they, I trained them how to select songs, write, structure it correctly, and then we went onto Udio and they went and developed their own songs that we can publish. And it was wonderful to see how they could develop the process and the whole idea of iteration, which now can happen quickly and much more meaningfully, was really good to see. I'm excited about what happens when we work with students.
Yeah, that's actually a really direct way of putting it with the student, and I think that's really impactful because if you just say to the student like, oh, think about the ethics or like think about like integrity, but I think having them think about what their place in the world is if they're just using AI to automate everything is it's a really impactful perspective. Yeah. Tim is asking, does anyone have experience with students using Flint for IBDP internal assessments? If anyone's on the call and wants to speak to that, feel free. We also did do a session on IB specifically, so I can also find the link right now and send it to you. Yes, go ahead, Juan.
Yeah, I just replied to Tim on the chat, but yeah, I did. I teach design technology, and this year with my year 2s, this was actually just before the student version of Flint came out, where they could create some of their own activities, like more, it was more like student friendly interface. So I created an activity for them first. I forget for which criterion it was, but I basically sectioned it like that. So let's say it was for criterion A, which they had already written. And if anyone teaches DP here, you know how long giving IA feedback takes. So I created an activity that would give them feedback on criterion A along with the feedback they had already received. And then once the Flint student version came out, I told them like, now you guys can create your own activity if you want to get your own feedback in like a different style, because maybe the feedback that you were getting with the activity I designed or I created wasn't working for you. So if you want to try a different approach, why don't you create your own activity for whatever criterion you want to get feedback on now? And I found it really useful. And then it was helpful because I was also a tech integrator. so then having that use case helped me then like show to other teachers like you guys can use Flint for all your other IB classes.
Yeah, and I think building on that and also what Sheila's saying in the chat here of like you know, if teachers are using project-based learning, then AI and students can have distinct roles and they're like collaborative. I feel like what you did where you were able to do more of something that previously took like so much time. I feel like that's also like where teachers can be looking at when they're trying to figure out how to integrate AI into their classrooms. Um, yeah, because like I feel like a lot of teachers lean on like worksheets and quizzes because it's really quick and then they can like move on to the next thing. But now like with AI giving students that sort of immediate feedback or having conversations with them, you can have those sorts of deeper learning moments more often, I think. And yeah, that's really cool. Thank you for sharing. And excited to see what you all do more with it also. Yeah, go ahead, Craig.
Sorry to cannibalize the conversation, but one thing that I'd love to see, like I love the you know, the flagging of potential harmful, etc. It would be lovely to actually have something in there that's almost I could customize how certain, you know, what certain things are flagged, so that if teachers are already concerned about, let's say, direct copy, you know, copying across or answering questions in a certain way, that I could train the AI to identify that and flag it, which because like what I'm doing at my school for next year is I've said to them, we are going to close off our networks to all other AI and we're going to run it on Flint. We're going to say to kids, you have access to it. The beautiful thing about it is we oversee everything and we can get feedback on it. So it gives them access to the platform, but at the same time we are protecting and able to educate and guide it. But you know, right now it's only really harmful content. But if the school wants to be able to identify something maybe slightly different, it would be great to have that sort of a flag, because then the idea is that then I can immediately see which student is going off on the wrong direction and I can work with them directly. So that would be a helpful aspect. But I already find I find the whole new structure where the students are in there, you can add teachers to it and you can work with them and you can roll over term to term. I think it's an absolutely amazing structure that you've created, and it's really perfect for an academic setting. So very, very exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's some really good feedback. I think we're currently in the platform and also in the next update coming up, we have like a rudimentary version of what you're talking about here planned. So basically the idea is that we want to give teachers the opportunity to customize what Flint's like teaching mindset is, like the, I guess, success criteria almost for learning in both the workspace as a whole and also specific groups. So you can maybe start to kind of do that through those because you'll be able to like put in like custom guidelines there. But we're also working on like a live view of student responses. So that might also be kind of like a hand in hand together. You can like have AI interact with students in a specific way, and then you can also like view what's going on for students more specifically as well. Yeah, if you want to chat more about that later, would love to. We're still gathering feedback on like how that should look specifically. So if anyone wants to like talk about that later, just let me know. Great. And then yes, I did want to go back to Dawn's comment earlier, where you said, I think a teacher needs to clarify from day one what are the appropriate uses for AI and how you're going to use it in the classroom, since a portion of teachers are not using AI at all. And then I see that Colin also responded to that. Yeah, Dawn, do you have any like additional thoughts on that you want to share? Or
I was actually just looking at Collins, trying to read Collins' thing.
yeah,
I think that what I used to do pre-AI, I would use the first or second class to talk about like what is plagiarism, like what's okay, and I would have some funny scenarios like downloading music for free when it used to be like that, and things like that, and having your neighbor correct your grammar like Grammarly does. There are all these apps now that do all these things. So I definitely want to start out day one talking about, as I said to Craig, I want to use AI to increase engagement and also to help with understanding. And I want to have them use AI, and I'm going to use Flint, have them use AI to try to kind of tackle some of the tougher questions. Like with Flint, Flint and I made a song about the difference between indentured servants and enslaved people. I did use Google Notebook. I was working with another guy the week before, and we did the Google Notebook LM. I took a 1926 article that's about my school and about how Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer would have loved going there. And I just dropped the PDF in there, and it made a podcast. And it just seems to me there's like multiple different ways that the kids can do these things and have fun and master AI. But at the same time, I want to be clear with them about like what we are going to use AI for and what we're not going to use AI for. And I saw this thing, I was trying to find it while you were talking. It said AI may not take your job in the future, but somebody who knows how to use AI is going to take your job in the future. So I think we have to teach them how to use it. But as Craig has said, we've got to make sure that they continue to be critical thinkers. Thanks, Lulu.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, and Colin was sharing his school's kind of AI usage scale, it seems like, which I think is like a really great way of like visually communicating with students, like how AI can be used. I can share my screen really quickly to show the one that his school is using, but like this sort of like level from like no AI to like full AI exploration. Yeah, I've seen a lot of schools kind of like adopt something like this, and they're like kind of customizing it to how they're already talking to their students about like learning and like the different processes of thinking and deeper thinking. Uh, yeah, and actually on this note, we do have a AI policy library for schools. So actually, Colin, I might reach out to you if we can add your schools to this too. But a while back, we like collected a lot of examples of AI policies and usage scales. So these we've already like vetted with these schools. You're free to use them, just like credit like where you got that inspiration from, I would say. And yeah, this might be also a good place to kind of shop around and look at like what you think makes most sense for your classroom.
Yeah, and ours is definitely not original. You can see we've got our credit at the bottom of where we got it from. All we did was make the colors colorblind safe, and I think we got the emojis from Adobe Spark, but the actual wording and the categories were, you can see where we got them at the bottom.
Yeah, thanks, Colin. Cool. Yeah, Izzy, go ahead. I see that your hand is raised.
Something I found really, really helpful for introducing students to like an AI policy is, yes, with a level system, having them like experiment with the level system. Like, so I gave a presentation a while back, and I made an activity on Flint where they got to play a different career, and so the AI would give it prompts, like, here's your situation using this level. Ask a question that you would use in this scenario. I think that then hearing the levels and then directly interacting with them was really, really helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, very true. Because like, what exactly is the difference between like AI collaboration and AI planning? Like it's probably best to give students that sort of concrete example and like have them experience that as well. So yeah, that's a really good idea. Thanks, Izzy. I do know we're coming at time right now. I really appreciate everyone for chiming in with all of the amazing ideas and feedback and thoughts. And I feel like we like kind of went from like this very specific covering level 2 of the literacy course to like this very broad discussion of AI in general and how to train people, teachers, students, everyone. But yeah, that was really awesome. Um, Let me just really quickly wrap up the session, and then if people want to hang around and talk afterwards, I have a little bit of time, so we can do that as well. Um, but yes, in general, we want to hear you all's feedback. This is just version 1 of level 2 and version like 1.5 of level 1. So let us know how you use it, what sorts of suggestions and improvements you think we can make. Yeah, and again, feel free to like comment directly on the course or share feedback with me. My email's right there, lulu@flintk12.com. But yeah, some like examples of what we improved from level 1 was like we added alt text under the images because we didn't realize that the platform didn't do that automatically. And then we made it possible to see the questions you got wrong on the quiz, but apparently that's still kind of iffy. So I'll look into that as well. But yeah, like your feedback is helping us improve it and improve the experience for other people. So please let us know your thoughts. And then the next couple sessions that I want to do are one of introducing Flint to students. So I kind of mentioned this earlier, but yeah, that's somewhere down the line. And then I think before the school year starts, doing a session on workspace management, like how to set up a new term, how to import new people if like you've had some like new students or new teachers even. So we'll also do a session there. If you have suggestions for sessions that you want to see, feel free to also reach out to me about that. But yeah, our recording will be posted on our website. You all here will get an email with it once it's live. Yes, okay. So yeah, if you want to be notified of when the next campfires are scheduled, you can subscribe to the calendar here. And then you can like put that link in the chat because I know sometimes QR codes are weird. But also we've had like a lot of really great conversation here today. And like we encourage that you all continue that conversation in the community. Yeah, our team is in there kind of to act as like tech support, but really the community is for you all as educators who are trying to figure out what to do with this great big thing that is AI. So yeah, to continue like this conversation or start other conversations with, I think our community of like 1,000+ educators, I would highly recommend going there. Cool. That is all I had. Thank you everyone for coming and joining us here today. If you all have any other thoughts or questions for me, feel free to, I'll stick on for a little bit. So just let me know. Thank you for the sparkly hearts, Shayla. Thank you, Lisa. Bye, Juan. Bye, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Totally
Thanks, Lulu.
sensational. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Kim, not sure if you're still on the call or not, but I'll have someone reach out to you about the license quote. It's kind of weird. I think our submission request form might be broken because I heard this recently too. So I'll definitely like let the team know about that. But yes, I will have someone on our team reach out to you about that. So sorry for the wait there. I think an option. Oh.
Lulu, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm trying to better understand about Flint is like one of the questions that Flint and I dealt with was like, how do I keep my students inside of the Flint experience and not have them going to other AI like ChatGPT or something like that? And Flint basically just said I had to create these engaging activities that would make them want to stay there, which I kind of get. So I think it was Izzy who just said with the 5 levels, one way to go about doing it is to create these interactive questions about each thing, right? and Flint is more than happy to kind of create their own scenarios. But my question about that is this: if Flint creates these scenarios about those 5 levels, does that mean that the students can respond to those but can't like change them? Or you see what I'm saying? It's not like they have editor, like I'm the editor, I have them do it, and then they respond to it. Uh, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I think it depends on how you set up the activity, but I think by default Flint should be, taking your instructions for how to conduct that like lesson or that conversation, and yeah, using that as like the guidelines that it will follow as it's interacting with the students. Um, yeah, so you can definitely also add like the extra precaution there of like, do not let students change these levels and like make sure that you're following the guidelines that I've put in there. But by default, it should be doing it pretty closely. I would definitely test it out though. You can like manually preview the activity and like pretend to be a student who's like really trying to push Flint in that way. But yeah, and then kind of on your earlier question of like how to keep students in Flint, yeah, I think of course like if students really enjoy the experience, then hopefully they would stay in it. I think also like one thing that I've seen from like the psychological side of things, I guess, is that if you show students how like they can just like respond to Flint and they won't be like penalized for it, like if they show that like they're going through the process, even if they don't get like the answer directly the first time, um, like that's okay because it's AI and it's like evaluating you holistically and it's like not like a quiz. So if you show them like that they can have that conversation with Flint and really just like show their thinking, and that is honestly like more valuable to you as a teacher, or like also won't like necessarily give them a worse grade in Flint or anything, then I think that can also be something that like alleviates like the concern from students that pushes them to go to other platforms.
And I would add to that, I I just had it, and then I was worried about maybe not giving Craig a chance, but um, like, yeah, I think that. Oh no, I know what you're talking about. So I just did this whole week thing with Howard Glazer at George School in Bucks County, and he had us do the first level. And I think I'm going to have my students do the first level so we all know what we're talking about. But I also think that, and I'm a history teacher, but I used to be an English teacher. There's a lot of talk, it seems like, about you don't just grade the final project, you're also going to grade process. And clearly, that's exactly what you're talking about right here. And you're right. Why would you grade something when it's about process? Now, is it 60, 40, 40, 60? I don't know. But it seems to me that with Flint, you really want to kind of open it up to them to be like, this is a tool you can use. This is going to enhance things. And we're going to value process. And you're absolutely right when you said that's probably what I really want to see. Yeah, because like at the end of my AP US history, and Craig, I teach upper school. At the end of my AP US history, we have like 3 weeks. So they have to create these projects like, what did I leave out? Make me a better teacher, blah, blah, blah. But what I'm really interested in is when they talk about what they learned and how, like, I try to frame for them, learning is not like I learned, it's a ongoing process. It's present tense. And I also have them create a document where every day I can go in and I can just, what are you thinking about now? What have you changed? What have you added to that and everything? I'm with you, and that's a great answer. So thanks. And especially telling me to tell Flint, don't let the kids change things. That's perfect.
Yeah, you can just like talk to it like very directly, like it's another human, just like, hey, don't do this, please. But yeah, go ahead, Craig.
Sorry if the kids are noise in the background. I've tried it with the grade ones, and I find that by default, Flint actually keeps them quite well within the boundaries of what the structure is, even if I don't very explicitly tell it to hold it in. I would love to test it out. So you in the upper grade, I'll be teaching high school next year. So I would love to test and push the boundaries because it'd be good to know when it starts to, go out, go out of it, or if it doesn't, I always like to push it because I want to know where it is, and see what the kids are doing. What I love to do is I believe in learning, not as like I believe tests prevents us from continuing learning because like always is end as opposed to learning is continuous. So I love to, I like what you were saying. I love to have the conversation within the AI where they are talking through the research process or where they are taking further. So I had my grade twos, they were researching an inventor, and then they would, they had a set of questions and they would say, okay, I've answered these. And I say, well, what is interesting? What else do you want to know? Like that's research. And so to get them to ask beyond. And that's what I always will talk to them about the ideas beyond, the assessment. I want them to expand beyond that. And the thing I really enjoyed about the Flint, which I think is quite helpful, is when I looked at it, I would go to them and I'd quickly check, okay, what is the evaluation that Flint has given? And I'll go to them and say, oh, I really like the way you ask these questions. And I'll just take it from Flint and, maybe try this next time. So I was giving them the feedback from Flint, and that I didn't have to go and dig into everything, but I could look at what was there. And because they got that feedback so much quicker than if I had to sit and grade a test and then 3 days later they get it, that inspired them as well. And I think kids by default, number one, they want some level of autonomy. So I like the fact that I can create chats in Flint that they can go into, and I encourage them, well, go in, try it out, because I know I can go back in and check if I need to. So I give them autonomy, give them that space and some freedom. They want the freedom, but they also want the engagement. They want the feedback. They want to know that they're doing things right. So me being able to very quickly have the feedback without sitting and doing all the grading, going and giving them the conversations, and we start talking about what they're doing, I found they get very excited about it. Some of them, of course, might already be using something else, and they might be used to that, and it might be more difficult to get those in. But if we are like, I know, if my school, I'm saying, yeah, this is the free platform. You can use it anytime. As in free, as in you have free access to it. You can go on there. Don't worry. Go and try out your homework. Just by giving them that free access and then feeling the freedom inspires them to stick into Flint rather than jumping onto everything else. Especially if they get opportunity at school, because I know Windows, the strategy from Windows and now recently Apple was get the Windows machine into schools. And because they're using Windows, they're used to it and they won't ever leave it. So when they get into work, they want a Windows machine. That's what they did with the iPad. Get it into school. And now people, I don't want a tablet. I'm used to an iPad. So I think if we give them as much time as possible in the platform of our choice, they will probably stay in it.
Very true. Yeah. And also, something that we're working on is like giving Flint memory. So the more that students interact with Flint, the better it will be accustomed to like knowing their best learning style, what sort of preferences they have when Flint is like talking to them. So hopefully that will also keep students in. But that's on our team, not on you all.
But that really is that's a very good point. I've used many. I've used Gemini, Grok, OpenAI, DeepSeek. I've used all of them and I've tested them all. I'm loving Grok because it's got memory, and so I will develop websites with like I create different web platforms that I do. And now what I do, as soon as it got memory, I've tested out on my web server certain limitations. Now I don't have to go and retell it everything. I can say, oh, remember we had these problems, and it will transfer all of that. So just giving it a bit of memory would be amazing for students to be able to go and access all of that. So I think that would be a really great thing if your team can get there.
Yes. Thank you so much, Craig. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I actually have another meeting to hop off to, but thank you all for today. This was amazing.
Great chat. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Really
Lulu.
loved it.
Take it easy, Craig.
You too. Thanks, Don. Thanks for the conversation. Cheers, guys.
Yeah. All right.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.